Parasites in your gut could significantly be negatively impacting your personal and business life. Whether you have brain fog, low energy, poor focus, you don't have that mental clarity you need, maybe you have fat you're trying to lose, it's just not coming off, you're trying to gain muscle but it's not working, you can't sleep properly, or you're just not able to access those peak 1% performance states that you need to try and get ahead or actually finish your to-do list. Well, in this video, I'm going to show you a gut sample report from a recent client of mine, crossed out the data, to show you what parasites, pathogens, H. pylori, viruses, worms, like what are all these things and how could they be impacting your performance and also your brain performance at the same time. It's one of the most revolutionary things that I have seen that not a lot of people are talking about when it comes to health and overall performance. And so let's get into it right now.
Okay, so here is what a gut test sample report looks like. Now we get these results because after I send a test kit over to a client's house, they'll take a sample, put it outside of their front door, UPS, DHL, FedEx will pick it up, it'll go directly to the lab overnight, and then within about 2 to 4 weeks, we'll get the results. Now based on if they have active stomach issues, if they feel like they're low energy, or if we're just working together and looking to improve things, and I just see that there's a time and place for this, then we'll decide to order it. But these are what the results look like. Now, these are among probably the most advanced gut tests in the world. And the reason why is because not only are we looking at a bunch of things at once, but we're also seeing these things at a very sensitive and accurate level. Many of these gut tests I've seen, other clients will come to me with, will run this same gut test report on them for the exact same things, and we'll see that they're positive and they actually do have these parasites. When they tested other test kits and we see they come back negative and nothing was there, but they were still experiencing symptoms. So just know that's not always inside of your head. So the first thing is pathogens. Pathogens, they're all kind of grouped into the same category. Now I'm not going to talk about each individual one. I just want to give you a general trend of what could potentially be lurking inside of your gut. Now, whether you have been to a second or third world country, whether you have swam in a lake and ocean, some water got into your mouth, whether you had sushi, it could be raw sushi that wasn't potentially cooked, it could have been meat that was uncooked. Any one of these can make its way into your gut. And the scary part is that if your immune system, if your gut doesn't have its defenses up, these parasites can actually stay there. And I've seen for years, if not decades on end, sometimes people middle-aged, they may have got this 10, 20, maybe even 30 years ago, and they've tried to do all these things like fasting, weekend parasite cleanses, and it just doesn't work for them. And we know that, and I know that, because when we run these tests, they'll tell me, I've done fasting, I've done everything, and nothing's working, and they still come back positive. And a lot of the time, these things are off the charts in the red. So how we get them can come from a lot of different ways. Some of them can come from sexual intimacy, saliva swapping, different cutlery exchanges. The list goes on, in particular with H. pylori. Now, the first one is pathogens. Now, pathogens and parasites, viral pathogens, they all sort of fit into the same category, whether it's C. difficile. Again, I blocked out this client's data for the privacy, but we saw that they came back positively high for these two things. If we go down, we can see something known as H. pylori. Now, H. pylori is known as a gram-negative bacteria, and this is pretty well known. We can exchange it through saliva, but it impacts everybody differently. And everybody also has a different stress bucket. It's known as our allostatic load. And so if we put all these stressors into our stress bucket, it could be external stressors, bad relationships, stress with work, deadlines we have to hit, the list goes on. We know what those are, but for most people, they feel like they have it managed and they think, no, that's not my issue. There's something else going on. So those are the external stressors inside of our stress bucket. The other stressor is internal stressors. Those internal stressors that go into our stress bucket are usually hidden stressors. Now these can be parasites, heavy metals, mold, thyroid's not working properly. We have some kind of leaky gut. And so this hidden stressor that I'm showing you is the gut, was parasites, pathogens, worms, inflammation inside of the gut. About 70 to 80% of the immune system is located inside of the gut. So if you have low energy, if you have brain fog, that doesn't mean that you need more coffee. It's not a lack of caffeine issue. It can sometimes be your immune system is just run down. And because your immune system is run down doesn't mean you're actively sick. It can just sometimes mean that you're just tired. You have that brain fog. It could be hormones. It could be your mitochondria for energy, for brain fog. The list goes on. But again, I just want to stress the importance is stress the importance that this is only one piece of the puzzle, but for a lot of people, it is a big portion of that puzzle. So H. pylori can take the stomach acid and sort of steal it from the foods that we are eating. It can also lead to ulcers in extreme cases. These virulence factors just indicate of how severe that one is. And when we look at this, 2.9 e to the 3, we can think of these as levels of an elevator. So level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5. I've seen it go up extremely high before. Now, some people may have a parasite and they feel okay. We'll test it. But it's not until we remove that parasite are they like, wow, I feel so much lighter. I feel like I don't have to eat as much. My metabolism's higher when I'm just sleeping. I'm starting to lose weight. My energy came back. The anxiety went away. Big reason for this is a lot of the foods that we eat, the nutrients from those foods get broken down into micronutrients for our hormones to use, for our brain neurotransmitters to use, and all these different functions inside of our body. Now, if one of those units of fuel that we need isn't getting broken down properly because these parasites, pathogens are stealing the nutrients of the foods that we're eating, even though if they're healthy foods, you might be eating salads, you might be eating chicken, beef, like really good paleo-based foods, but if they're not getting absorbed properly, you might feel more hungry all the time. Then it's no wonder why you're feeling the way that you're feeling. And so once we eradicate these parasites, well, now your body and now your stomach can actually use these as fuel for all these different body systems, and you can start feeling better, whether you want better health or whether you want peak performance states. Both of these apply. Now, what's important here is the gut flora. Now, we have the parasites, pathogens, H. pylori, worms, viruses, and these are all kind of the root cause of what could be happening inside of your gut. These really impact our gut microflora. Now, it's not really important what are the individual gut microflora inside of our stomach. It is important, but it's more so the general trend of what we see. Now, what's interesting is when we eradicate and remove some of these parasites, pathogens, etc., we start to see the gut flora really start to sort itself out and not have to rely necessarily on a bunch of probiotics, kombucha on a regular basis, because these weeds that were in your garden can now be removed, and now your body has an ability to start self-healing itself. But it doesn't stop there, because once we remove these, then we want to introduce phase 2, which is planting the seeds in your garden once the weeds are removed. And so for some people, this could take about 30 to about 60 days of a specific protocol. Some would do medication, but I find a lot of the time it's like bringing a massive nuclear missile onto your gut, and it destroys all the good gut bacteria, all the bad gut bacteria. And for a lot of people, this is where their gut issues can start. So when we do it more of a gentle way, where it's kind of like the castle walls, we just slowly chip away one at a time in a gradual way, so you don't feel like it's interfering with your day and you were just hit by a train. Now, a couple things to consider here as we go through each of these is when we start doing a protocol, a couple things can happen. There's something known as a Herxheimer or a die-off reaction. So when we start eradicating or killing these parasites, the die-off from those can make their way into our bloodstream. And so what we want to ensure is as soon as they're died off, we have a magnet that comes in and binds to those, and it can make its way easily outside of our body, because the last thing that we want is for that dead debris to be reabsorbed back into our bloodstream, and it's just going to feel like we were hit by a train. So we want to keep things moving, like a flow, like a current. So everything's moving. As soon as those things die, we have something to suck it up, and then they're able to eradicate from our body. Once that happens and our gut bacteria finally has a break, and for a lot of these people, you can see in this dysbiotic bacteria, there's more bad guys than good guys. And we want the ratio of more good guys than bad guys, more good gut bacteria than bad gut bacteria. And so once we eradicate the parasites, or whatever it is for somebody, then what we start to see is that ratio starts to go more in their favor. But we supercharge this process by introducing more good guys in the form of specific probiotic strains, in the form of specific enzymes, in the forms of specific hydrochloric acid. Now, the specific probiotic strains that we bring in is really all based on someone's gut profile, because there's spore-based probiotics, there's regular probiotics. There's a lot of different ones on the market, whether we need a hybrid strain, whether we need one individual strain, whether we need a combination of both. It really depends on the person. That's why everybody's health profile is so individualized and so tailored. So anybody that tells you that we have to follow this cookie cutter approach, just do this general parasite cleanse, it's not true. I mean, it's better than doing nothing, but I can't tell you the amount of times, like I said, people who have done this weekly, daily parasite cleanse, and it just doesn't work. The same applies to detox. So we have to do it in the right way. And once we do so, and we start bringing in these probiotics, introducing more kombucha-based foods, sauerkraut, kefir, and everything else, once those weeds are removed in the first place, and that's important, then these individuals start feeling extremely better. Now, for some people, it depends on what we're first experiencing, but a lot of the time, if it was brain fog, fatigue, low energy, they needed a lot of caffeine just to get through the day, they were waking up in the middle of the night, because parasites kind of like to wake up in the middle of the night, and they cause a cortisol spike. And that cortisol is stimulatory, so it can wake us up at 2 or 3 a.m. when we just want to get back to sleep. And we might not feel stress, but for some reason we're just up and we don't know why. That can be one of the other major indicators happening as well at the same time. But whatever the case is for you, whatever your health profile is, whatever your complaints are, whatever you're looking to optimize, or maybe you feel fine, like 7 or 8 out of 10, you're looking to get to 10 out of 10, then removing all these hidden stressors that are holding you down and taking up all your body's bandwidth, only then, once we remove these weeds, can you start putting the seeds in to really supercharge that and fast track that and allow you to hit those top 1% peak marks. Now, we also can see, hydrochloric acid, digestive enzymes inside of the stomach, like the foods you are eating, are they being broken down properly? If we have these parasites, H. pylori, pathogens, it's going to prevent a lot of that from happening. We want our body to naturally be able to secrete this on its own, but along the way something happened, and it's like a cork inside of a bottle, or think about a pipe. All the water is supposed to flow through seamlessly, and if it's not, because there's some something that's holding it back, then what's going to happen is you will not be able to facilitate that process. So what we have to do here is do it in a systematic way. Ensure that inflammation is low. Ensure that any forms of gluten, grains we don't have sensitivities to. Ensure that our immune system is strong enough to fight things, because secretory IgA, if that is too high, that can show us that our body is actively trying to fight all these hidden stressors inside of our body. It could be mold, it could be parasites. So we really have to take a break. And if the secretory IgA is too low, it could be that our body's defenses are down because it's been elevated and just fighting for far too long. Now, we only have so many troops inside of our bodies until everything can start becoming weakened. And that's when the bad guys can take over. And that's where you can just feel like an absolute shell and former version of yourself. And then we can also see leaky gut and other things too. Now, I realize this looks like another language. Totally understand, that's what most people say, but the whole point is that I want to convey to you is you can figure out what is happening inside of your gut at any time. And once you're able to do so, you can get to the root cause and actually do something about it. And once it's done, it's done. Stage 1 is typically relief care. Stage 2 is we go into acute mode. It's that protocol to eradicate those parasites. There's something known as biofilms, which is kind of this shield that covers the parasites. It's like a mucus shield, and that can make it very difficult to get to the core and start destroying it. They're kind of smart in a way. And so we want to remove that biofilm first. We want to eradicate those parasites, making sure that everything's flowing so it can exit your body, while at the same time bringing in the magnet to bind those together so it all comes out of your body systematically while keeping inflammation low and while ensuring that day to day you just feel fine. You take the protocol, at the end of it, you feel a lot better, and then you can just get on with your life. And then in stage 3, we go into automation mode or maintenance mode, and that's where we take the training wheels off, and then you can start cruising. So I hope that makes sense. If you would like more information about how this works, what this report looks like, or any information how you can do it for yourself, comment down below, and I'll show you how I can help.